Have you ever wondered what it really takes to make Agile work? Well, at the Global Agile Summit, we're bringing you real-life, first-person stories of Agile succeeding out there in the real world that will inspire you to take action. Whether you're a leader, a product innovator, a developer, you'll hear practical insights from those who've done it. They'll be telling their own stories from the stage. I'll tell you more about this at the end of this episode, so stay back and listen to the full detailed description of what we have in store for you at the Global Agile Summit. But if you can't wait, you can go right now to globalagilesummit.com and check out our full schedule. For now, on to the episode, but I'll see you at the end of this episode with more details on the Global Agile Summit. Talk to you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Team Tuesday. This week we have with us Zvonimir Durcevic, also known as Zvone. Hey, Zvone, welcome back.
Hi, Vasco.
So Tuesday is, of course, Team Tuesday, and we'll talk about teams and how sometimes they become their own worst enemies in a second. But before that, Zvone, share with us, what was the book that most inspired you as a Scrum Master?
Thank you, Vasco, for this great question. The book that really inspired me a lot is from Michael Spade and Michel Mador. It's Agile Transformation, using the integral Agile Transformation framework to think and lead differently.
What were the key lessons that you got from that book that you still carry with you?
Key lessons: how to look at systems, how to use different lenses to go deeper in the complexity of systems, and especially these lenses or different perspectives that we can take into understanding what is going on. Is it a team? Is it a part of the organization, department, or even the whole organization? Through focusing from these different perspectives, can really give new insights, and not only for me as a Scrum Master, Agile coach, but also for the team. I also used the integral Agile Transformation framework and these different quadrants as a tool to talk with the team about different aspects of how do they function, where they are now with their, let's say, looking at problems in the middle. If you put the problem in the middle of the map, what different perspectives can tell us about this problem? For example, what are some behaviors that we noticed? What are, for example, maybe organizational policies or structures that influence the problem? What are the cultural influences in the problem? So this is a really good tool to help us as Scrum Masters and Agile coaches, but also teams, to have a dialogue about what is currently happening in the team.
Integral Agile Transformation Framework. We'll put the link in the show notes, as well as to the book, of course, to make sure that people can find it. That's a great recommendation. Thank you for that, Zvone. So now we turn our attention to teams and how sometimes they create their own problems, and the problems can really escalate, of course. So tell us a story of a team. You know, you work with them, like what was the context, how big they were, so that we understand a little bit where the story comes from. And then walk us through those small behaviors or approaches that the team took that eventually created problems for them.
Yeah, thank you, Vasco. So I worked for a while with the team. It was 5 people in the team, developing important products for the organization, internal product for the organization. And what one of the problems that I noticed started working with them is that they had a really good like interaction in the team, but I didn't notice a lot of interactions with stakeholders, like with the external, with the rest of the organization. And I started talking with stakeholders, and I noticed that they also didn't have a good communication with the team. So there was kind of, first I noticed, okay, the team is delivering, the team is satisfied how they communicate in the team. But I noticed that they were a kind of, they were building like a bubble.
But was the team aware, or did they think that no, everything is fine and we're talking enough with the stakeholders? Like, how were they looking at that?
No, they knew, and they also told me that this communication with the stakeholders was kind of cut off, and they were aware of it. What they said is that it should be enough that they deliver a good product. So they were really experts in the field. They were really good at delivering, and they had a good communication with what we could call a product owner, somebody who was basically delivering the requirements that the organization needs for them to deliver. So if you look at that, each team has a purpose, and that this purpose is being fulfilled is very important for the team, of course. They were fulfilling their purpose because they were delivering, and they knew that they had problems with the stakeholders. And with time, they noticed that their visibility and perception in the organization was going down. So they noticed.
So they started to realize that the organization did not look at them as like great professionals. They look at them maybe as not transparent enough, not engaged enough, whatever that might be, right?
Exactly. Kind of, kind of difficult teams. Okay. So the teams that they're delivering, but they're difficult to have a good communication with. It's not easy to get information from them. It's not easy to ask questions or ask difficult questions. So this is where I came in and had, of course, different interviews, different assessment points in the organization. The most important thing that we did, what I did with this team, was context diagramming.
Explain that to us.
Yeah.
What is context diagramming?
It's a really simple and very powerful tool to map out the team's relationships, dependencies, and what is the product impact on customers and stakeholders. Basically, what you do is you put the team or the product in the middle. We took one whiteboard, we put the team in the middle, and said, okay, so with whom do you communicate or need to communicate? And we started putting different names of persons, also teams, also some systems they needed to provide information for different systems. So we started building like a context of this team within this organization and also outside of the organization. They were building internal products, so they were mainly communicating with different stakeholders and systems within the organization. We started putting relationship lines between the team and the stakeholders and systems. We indicated how much communication they have, where are the problems, which communication relationships they have problem with, what were the problems, what were kind of input and outputs. So when we finished this, all of a sudden they realized how complex their world is. And it's not only that, they built the bubble, but it was basically a reaction on the immense complexity that they were dealing with. So what kind of unconsciously they did is they tried to reduce the complexity, just cutting off the relationships, the connections. And
Did
when
they
we,
realize that? Was that like a conclusion they came up with?
yeah, they said to me, "Oh gosh, look how complex our world is, and how complex our communications and relationships are." And this for me, it was kind of, I always say there are some wake up moments. And I think this was for this team. They realized that cutting off the connection, the relationship is not the answer. We started a conversation about what could be approach that could help them to reestablish these communications. And well, we just said, I think focusing is one of the most important thing. And we just started focusing on one stakeholder at a time and say, okay, for now it's important that we reestablish the connection with this stakeholder, then with this stakeholder. And it was these small steps that they did. It was not easy because some of these relationships were basically damaged, but they could do this step by step.
Absolutely. And I really like that approach of just taking one stakeholder at a time, because it's very easy to think, okay, now we need to work on this whole picture. But it isn't like that, right? Like when we naturally grow relationships with the people and the stakeholders around the team, we do it one by one. We don't do it all at the same time, right? Like it's one meeting, one conversation, one presentation, whatever that might be. And it's a really useful kind of mental model to think about, okay, this is how it looks in its full complexity, but we can't work with the full complexity. We already know because we started breaking off some of those relationships. So let's step back and take one at a time. What's the next most important stakeholder or team to involve in how we work?
Exactly. And what happened is they started showing this context diagram to other people in the organization, to the stakeholders. And then the stakeholders said, "Oh, wow, you have really a complex situation. Your kind of context, your systemic view is really big." And this is where they started to understand their situation. So we had kind of, it was not only an eye opener for the team, it was an eye opener also for the rest of the organization.
Yeah, it's a really powerful idea to have in mind, either through this context diagramming or some other way to visualize the complexity around us, because it really helps us to be deliberate and careful about managing that complexity, right? Like the complexity isn't going away, but we can, once we see it, we can tackle it explicitly and deliberately.
Yeah, exactly.
Great story. Thank you for sharing that, Zvone.
Thank you.
Hey friend, thank you for staying. Here is all you need to know about the Global Agile Summit. If you've ever suffered or know people who are suffering from Agile fatigue, this event is for you. Agile fatigue is that feeling that settles in when we can't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. We get discouraged, especially when conversations revolve around the same old frameworks, the same old buzzwords and theories. We don't feel that energy anymore. Well, the Global Agile Summit is a different kind of event. We're bringing you real-life first-person stories of Agile succeeding out there in the real world that will inspire you to take action and transform the way you work. The Global Agile Summit will happen in Tallinn, Estonia, May 18th, that's the workshop day, and then 19th and 20th, the conference day. And Tallinn, Estonia is one of the most innovative tech hubs in Europe. The Global Agile Summit is hosted together with Latitude 59, which is kind of a citywide celebration of software startups and groundbreaking ideas. And we'll have a shared ticket for you to attend those events as well. So who will be speaking? Well, we've got an incredible lineup of thought leaders in software and Agile For example, Clinton Keith, the person who literally wrote the book on game development with Scrum, and is busy bringing Agile to the world of game development. You must check his session. The very famous and well-known Jürgen Apelo, author of Management 3.0, will be talking and exploring about AI's impact on leadership. We also have Gojko Adzic, who's taking an unconventional look at the product growth with his lizard optimization keynote. Other speakers include, for example, Sven Dietz, who's challenging everything we know about software development by literally ditching contracts and estimates. Can you imagine? His teams deliver software before their competitors are even done with the contract negotiation. How agile is that? But there's more. We'll cover engineering practices in our developer track with talks on, for example, AI-assisted test-driven development, developing products in minutes with a different approach to how we develop, configure, deploy platforms, and much more. We also have a product track where we cover cutting-edge ideas around product discovery, delighting customers with product delight frameworks. We'll have a talk about that. And we also have an Agile business track where we will talk about, for example, open strategy, a very agile approach to managing organizations and delivering software faster to clients, faster than you can even write a contract. Literally, I mean, I already told you about Sven Dietz's story. Is amazing. It definitely is a must-see. I'm sure you'll be inspired and get a lot of ideas for your own software projects and software delivery. Now, whether you're a business leader, a product innovator, or a developer, you'll definitely find value in our 3 focused tracks. That's Agile Business for those working with businesses and organizations, Agile Product for product managers, product owners, and innovators, and Agile Developer for the builders making Agile work in practice, the coders, the testers, the designers, the producers, the Scrum Masters, you name it. If you join, you will meet over 200 Agile professionals from all over the world. People who, just like you, want to grow, want to share, and want to learn by challenging the ideas that don't work anymore. At the Global Agile Summit, you'll get new connections, fresh ideas, and the energy to take your own Agile to the next level. And who knows, maybe even find your next career opportunity. So don't miss out. Check out the full program and grab your ticket now at globalagilesummit.com. I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in Tallinn, Estonia in May. I'll see you there.